PJNet.TV. It is 9:30 on the East Coast, and Michelle Medlock Adams, after a vacation or of sorts, is back and waiting. Our bumper's running. We are streaming this to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So I think we are ready to start a countdown to Studio 18. Well, good evening. Welcome to PJNet.TV. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and believe it or not, it is Wednesday night already, the night that is reserved for Michelle Medlock Adams. And she is standing by in our green room. She does not have her Santa Claus cap on. But Michelle has been in absentia for a while. So let's see. Among your excuses are 2 book conferences and a vacation,
yes.
And a new book coming out. That, actually, I feel we're very fortunate to have you, because you are booked solid. Folks, you won't believe this. The publisher hired a PR firm for Michelle. I said she doesn't need one. Her name on the book is the PR. But,
You're very kind.
So they're doing a good job, apparently.
Yes, lots of interviews. I had one today even. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, who are you interviewing with? The television stations. Who? Come on.
Well, today was with a gal. Her name. Well, I really liked her. Her name is Angela. I'm trying to look. Donadio, or it might be Donato. But she's so nice. She has a podcast. She's out of Washington, D.C. area. She's a pastor's wife. And her podcast is in the top 2% of all the Charisma podcasts. So, I mean, I should know her. I have heard of her, but I've never listened to her podcast. So I'm going to start listening, because she was just delightful. I enjoyed being with her. In fact, we chatted for 20 minutes or so before the interview, and then probably 20 minutes after. And I think I've got a new buddy. We're gonna do some stuff together. One of those divine connections. So you just never know what God's got in store. I thought I was doing a 15-minute quick podcast call about dachshund through the snow, and it was a lot more than that. So I enjoyed today. Today was crazy good.
Now, you had been to the Florida Christian Writers Conference. That was 2 weeks back, and wasn't there something else the week before that you were at?
So the Florida Christian Writers Conference is doing a new thing where they're going to have various genres have like their own conference right before the Florida conference. Last year, it was canceled because of COVID. Obviously, everything was canceled. Mm-hmm. So this year, instead of making it a full 4 or 5 day conference for just kids lit, they had one full day of nothing but children's writing. It was awesome. It was there were like Jill Roman Lord and myself and like Karen Whiting, and there were several of us that were teaching. And Taryn, of course, Taryn Souders, who's, I don't know if it's Souders or Souders. I should know this. But Taryn, who's an amazing middle grade writer, who's the co-director of the Florida Christian Writers Conference, she taught. I mean, we just had I actually got to go to some of the classes, which was amazing. Usually I'm teaching, consulting, teaching, all of that. But I got to teach a couple classes and then sit in on somebody else's classes. And it was just such a fun time. So that was the day before. But I flew in a couple days before that even, just to hang out with my buddy, Eva Diva. So Eva Marie Everson and I did a little shopping, did a little catching up, and talked about future books we're going to do together, because we have a book coming out together this summer called Our God is Bigger Than That. Okay. And so we talked about, we got to see the cover. We were so excited about that and the ways we're going to promote it, and then future books we're going to do together. So we did work a little bit, but we did shop and visit a lot too. And then, hit the ground running at the Florida Christian Writers Conference and the Kids Lit Day. And then at the end of all of that, my buddy, Wendy Lanier, do you know Wendy? She's been on the program before. I think Wendy's out in Texas, and she co-wrote Puppy Dog Devotions with me, but she's got 45 plus books of her own. Mm-hmm. Her daughter, Erin, works at Epcot. And so she said, hey, you're in Florida and I'm in Florida. She and her husband were celebrating an anniversary over on Reddington Beach. And she said, if we could get you a ticket to Epcot, do you want to go with us? I said, yes.
Let me think about that. Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I just said, let me check with Jeff. And Jeff's like, well, yeah, what's another day? So I stayed another day and we went to Epcot, which was just so much fun. And then I flew home. So I was gone 9 days, and that was a long time. But it was well spent. I was tired, but it was worth it.
Where was the bass boat all this time?
This is terrible. We were talking about that. We finally got the bass boat out of storage because, we didn't have a place to put it for the longest time.
Uh-huh.
So it's in our garage now. And Jeff's only been
Wait,
out on it twice.
the house you
I
built
haven't been
for
out on
it,
it once.
you've got to
Isn't
put
that
it in
terrible?
there.
I mean,
Well, yeah,
we haven't been out at all. We've been too busy. Well, myself, I've been working a lot, but we also were working on the house, and
yeah,
we just haven't had
yeah.
time to go fishing. But that is not going to be the case next year. We've already decided. Other stuff's
Okay.
going to have to wait.
All right.
We missed going out on the lake. Yeah.
All right. Well, this could be the winning answer on a game show. You went to Epcot. EPCOT. Do you know what that stands for? It's an. It wasn't designed by Mr. Epcot.
I don't know that answer. I should know it as
Okay.
many times as I've been there.
Well, I'm going to lengthen the story. I do know what it stands for because when Epcot opened, prior to its opening, they offered free admission to anybody, any disc jockey. I mean, Disney's not dumb, okay? You invite all these disc
Right.
jockeys before you open. Guess what they do when they get back on the air? Experimental prototype City of Tomorrow.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. That's really cool to know that.
You can Google it. That paragon of intellectual rigor, and it will confirm.
I always learn something new from you, Coach. It's a true thing.
Well, like I said, it could. If you ever get on a game show and that's the winning answer, I expect a check, or Visa card, or whatever, a boat or something. But it could be. Well, a doggone it. Now, Michelle, your video has locked up. So, here, hold on a minute. Let me see if I can just reset it from here. Okay, I'm going to try it. We're going to try that and that. Nah, that didn't work. So we're going to try. I'm going to take her name off the screen real quick. And I don't know if she can hear me. Michelle, I'm about to reset the connection. So hold on and let's see what happens. Here we go. We are going to disconnect and we'll reconnect. And meanwhile, I'll put her back up there like that. So Michelle's been busy. Now, if we can reestablish that connection, which I certainly hope that we can, we'll show you a surprise that she got, which probably wasn't that much of a surprise. But anyway, while we're waiting on Michelle to rejoin us, which she's trying to do, I can see that. Wanted to bring up a couple things. One, we've got a new guest tomorrow night, Kathleen Bartlett. Is she here tonight? Nope, she was here last night. Oh, that's right. Anyway. I love it when we have first-time guests. Oh, didn't y'all enjoy Erica last night? That was certainly a thrill. I mentioned it last night. I want to mention it again. Barbara works hard to set up the Facebook events. You know what I'm talking about? And you see it. How about go look for them and find them. I'm gonna disconnect Michelle temporarily. I've reset the connection, but she's still connected. I'm gonna disconnect her and see if she'll come back in and we can reestablish that connection. If you go to the PJNet page, find those events, and if you're interested, if you're thinking you'd like to go, click interested. If you know that you're going, you have to click interested first. You can't say go. When you click it, the interested is the only option. But once you click it and it says interested, then you can pull it down and say going. So if you would mark yourself as going, if you're actually going to be here live in our chat room, as many of you are, and I'm so glad to see each one of you, it actually would help promote the event, because Facebook, as you know, has all these algorithms and they decide what's kind of trending and popular and all that. So the more people interact with the event, either interested and or going, that tends to make that more visible on the home news feed of people as they browse Facebook. I'm resetting this connection again. And there's Michelle. Let's try it now. Let's see what happens. Well, we see the same. Michelle, I have just if you can hear me, I don't know if she can or not. You are connected, I see that, but there's no image and there is no audio. So, if you can, try something different. Disconnect and reconnect. Try a different browser. If you're using a browser, she might be using her phone. She usually is. So that's going on. Also, I hadn't brought up lately, the event January the 15th. Put that on your calendar, folks. Near Tallahassee, Florida, PJNet will be hosting its first annual reunion and fundraiser. Okay. Barbara and I are putting the finishing touches on the page that will be used to promote the event. We've got actually 7 speakers lined up, believe it or not. And that page is likely to be ready by this time next week. And at that point, we can actually start promoting it. People can go to that page, and the way it's going to work is a little different. To sign up, to register. Well, Michelle, I see that you are there again, but no audio, no video for some reason. If you can hear me, try using a different name. Don't use the same one. Try a different one. It'll set up a new session, so to speak. If she can hear me, I don't know. But it's kind of interesting. I talked to several authors. Oh, by the way, hold that thought. Ben Cooper had the unboxing of his new Created Critters with Fur today. Have you seen it? It is. It's always a magic moment. And there's Michelle in our chat room. Well, Michelle, you're in our chat room. I hope that if you can hear me, if you could try to log in using a different device, a different browser, and by all means a different name. Don't use the same name you're using before. I'm standing here waiting on your connection, and we will resume if you're able to do that. But if not, congratulations, Ben, on that's a benchmark in all authors' careers. And back to the event of January the 15th. Okay, the way it's going to work is kind of interesting, because you go to the page, and it'll say kind of register or request a ticket, something like that. Because you don't actually buy the ticket there. What it does is it takes you to a link. You just furnish a phone number, address, the usual. And then when you hit submit, it will then email you, using the email address you furnished, a invoice. And when you click on that invoice, it will take you to the Square Up page. A lot of authors use Square Up. You know what I'm talking about? The little square thingy that you stick in your phone, that you can slide a card, and just sell something right just over, over the counter, not over the counter, but over the, oh, there's Michelle. She's back. I don't know what happened, but hey. Okay, well, I don't know, but anyway, here, let's put you back in here. I'll have to make some adjustments as we go. But now that you know how to decode the actual experimental prototype City of Tomorrow, and I've got to kind of actually you are already rotated correctly. Okay, so while at the conference, I see this huge picture of a bunch of cupcakes with a doggy head and tail. It looks a lot like a dachshund.
That's right. Isn't that the cutest? I loved it so much. And they were good too. See the doggy head? That was actually Rice Krispie treats. Isn't that amazing?
Okay, because that can be formed. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was kind of creepy to actually eat the dog's head. So, that they wanted to see what was in it. So we did cut one of the doggy's heads open, but not till after all the pictures. But it was I was surprised. I had no idea. Really cool.
I've seen so many of the cakes. In fact, PJNet was honored to receive one at I believe it was Mount Zion, North Carolina.
Yes, Andy Clapp's church.
Yeah, and I don't know how they do that. Because apparently but they do. But this isn't one of them. This is a series of cupcakes, and it looks kind of a death by chocolate.
Yes, there were some vanilla ones, but they all had chocolate icing in it. I did sample one. Although I've been on an eating plan, I went ahead and let myself have one. I tell you what, it was worth every carb. It was quite good. But that was really I'm never usually surprised, Coach. Usually I'm in on everything. I usually know stuff, and they pulled one over on me. It was so funny because they were planning this surprise book signing and book launch of Docs into this Through the Snow, the book you've got up there on the screen, which I have right here. But I hadn't even received any author copies or anything yet. It just with shipping and everything because of there's lots of shipping problems going on as a result of COVID and all that. So the first time I really had the books and we actually received them was that second day at the writers conference, and we weren't sure they were going to show up. So I was sad that they weren't there because I knew I wouldn't be able to sell them and things, but I could tell Victoria Duerstock, who's over in Game, she was really weird about it. She was like, I don't know if they're going to get here. And I'm like, well, it's really not that big a deal. I mean, that's fine. I brought other books to sign, but she seemed very distraught about it. I didn't know, that they were planning this big thing that if the books didn't arrive, it was going to be a bust. And then that day, the books got there, and then they were bringing in all the cupcakes and things. And even Marie Everson, who's over at the Florida Christian Writers Conference, had said earlier at our faculty meeting, she was just giving us all the rules and regulations and guidelines to follow. And she'd said, especially during this season of COVID and stuff, just don't touch too many people and try to abstain from hugs and, that kind of stuff. And then all during that day, every time I saw her, she was manhandling me. She was grabbing my arm and taking me places. And it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, I'm going to have to report her to somebody. What is she doing? But it was because every time I was always the wrong place, the wrong time. They would be bringing in something, there I would be. And she'd be like, oh, Michelle, I need you to come look over here. And she'd grab my arm and pull me someplace else. And it was so that I wouldn't, they didn't want me to know the surprise. And but it was just really funny. All that made sense later when they called me up front, and I thought I was in trouble or something. In fact, I almost, Coach, didn't go to the night session because I came in late. I scheduled a meeting during the first part of the main session because somebody couldn't get an appointment with me, and I didn't want that person to go home without having an appointment with me, and they had to leave early. So I had made arrangements to have an appointment during the first part of the main session, but I didn't know they were going to be doing this book signing. So, I kept getting these texts from, Victoria, I've got your seat saved. You're coming in, right? I'm thinking, what is she, my mother?
Yeah, what's the video?
The whole thing was so weird, and then it all made sense. I'm like, okay, now I get it.
Uh-huh.
So it was really special to, I don't know. It was one of the highlights of my career because I was with all these people that I loved who had grown up with me in the industry and some new friends too. And just to celebrate that special night. And that was the same week that it was announced I had my own children's book imprint called Ren and Bear Books. And so that whole week was just a week of celebration and just praising God and getting to be there with the people that I knew truly celebrated with me. It was just special. And I was I cried, and I don't get that emotional in public very often, but that really got me. I was so touched. It was really something.
Michelle, if I remember, you had posted when this book first became available for pre-sale, they ran out. You couldn't even pre-order it.
That was crazy. I have never had that happen in all the books that I've ever done. And I'll tell you, I owe a lot of that. Of course, I owe everything to God, but also to my launch team. I usually don't have a launch team because, I don't want to bother people. And that's, when I'm coaching people, I'm like, this is the time to ask, and I always help other people with their launches. But for this particular book, because it's a different book for me. It's not in a rhyme. It's a storybook, and it's about my favorite dog breed. And it's my first book with In-Game Press. And I wanted it to do well, not just for me, but for Victoria and for In-Game Press. I wanted to make a big splash. And so I had over 100 people on my launch team. And every time I looked up, somebody was sharing another meme and, putting it out there for the world to see. And so because of that, we had so many pre-orders. We sold out the day that it debuted on October 12th. And they're just now back in stock this week. Amazon is now sending them out. So it was a good problem to have. I've never had that happen before.
I think Andy Clapp finally got his today, didn't he?
Who did?
Andy Clapp. Didn't he get
his
today?
Yes, he held his up. He sure did. I saw a picture. I had given him one at the Christian Product Expo that both Lori and I were at, right? That we were signing books.
Right.
And I had just a few there, and I snuck one out to him to give to his girls. But I didn't know he'd also pre-ordered, so he actually has 2 copies.
Well, you can't have too many books.
You can't have too many dachshund books. That's right. This has just been a really amazing season. I that you have hard times, and there's different difficult times in all of our careers and in life in general. And though there's been some personal struggles going on that I can't go into right now, but our family's been through a few things in the last 6 weeks, and it continues to happen. It's just like there's this, I don't know, this protective bubble around us, that God is protecting us from things. But I can see his hand in so much of our lives, and these bright spots, just these, it was just nice to feel loved. I just really appreciated all the outpouring of people. And I know they went to a lot of expense, a lot of time to do that for me. And my goodness, I just can't get over it. I still can't. I mean, every time I see like a picture pops up about the cake or something, I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of planning and everything that it took. And everybody's stuck around to celebrate with me. So it was really cool. I wish you could have been there, Coach. I wish my PJ Net family could have been there, but there were a couple of them there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you probably didn't hear, but we have an event coming up January 15th near Tallahassee. That's going to be an annual event, and you'll start seeing things about that. We've actually got 7 speakers, and one of them, oh gosh, I got. Can you imagine somebody being on death row and 40 years later being a preacher?
Wow, yeah.
It happens. And he's one of our speakers. It's some powerful, it's going to be pretty intense, I hope. Well,
Wow.
it will be if I have anything to do with it, and I do. So,
That's awesome.
would you believe I've got a contractor came to my house yesterday? Tomorrow we're going to look at flooring. I hope they're open when we go to the store. You had visitors today.
Yes, my granddaughter, Knox, came, and her mommy dropped her off when she went to the gym. And so I got to spend some quality Gigi time with baby Knox. She's 6 weeks old now. And, that whole Allie had her an emergency C-section. That was just kind of a nightmare, but she's just thriving and doing very well. And yeah, it's fun to have that special one-on-one time with. I mean, they're so squishy at that age. You just forget how little they are. And we had such a good time together today. I was singing songs to her, and I read my Dachshund Through the Snow book to her, although she didn't seem very excited about it. There wasn't a lot of emotion there, but she was awake, so I guess that's a good sign. But I always think it's important to read to your kids, and that's one of the things I talked about today in the interview. We were talking about the importance of reading books and the importance of books in general in our children's lives, and then that brought us around to the topic of sharing about the real reason for Christmas. As we head into this holiday season, that's one of the things I want to talk about today. And this book isn't a per se a Christian book. It's got good morals in it. There's a great message about anti-bullying. There's a great message about not letting your weaknesses or anything that you might see as not a strength, let that deter you from all the big things that God has for you. But this isn't the story of Jesus in the manger. I've got many of those books. I've written several of them. I've got What is Christmas, and I've got Happy Birthday Jesus, and Memories of the Manger, and The Shepherds Shook in Their Shoes. Those are all, books about Jesus. C is for Christmas also has that story in it that I've written. This one isn't that book. This one has a different message. It's a good message, but it's not necessarily a Christian message. And I did that purposely because I needed to have a book that I could take into the public schools, right, because I do quite a bit of that speaking. In fact, I'm going to be doing that next week, going to read into the schools. And I couldn't take my books that have Jesus in it to the schools. Used to, back in the day, I could do that, but they've gotten much more strict, even in my hometown, about those rules. They have to, so that they won't get sued. And so I have to abide by those. I want to honor those rules, not to get anybody in trouble. And I didn't have very many secular books, as we call them, books for the general market, to take in there, except for library books, things I'd written about athletes and things. Mm-hmm. So this gives me that foot in the door to be able to go all over into the general market, and that's why I did this book. So I've taken a little bit of heat from a few Christian groups. They're like, I don't understand why you do a book about Santa. And I'm like, well, it's not really about Santa. Santa's in it. He makes an appearance, but did you read the book? Have you seen the book? Are you just criticizing? Because we can talk after you've read it. I'm okay with some critics, but have you read the book? So yeah. But that's why I wrote this one. It was strategic, and it was strategic for Victoria and In-Game Press to publish it, because In-Game Press and also my imprint, which is Rain and Bear Books, we are going to do general market books and we're going to do Christian books, and we're doing that strategically, because you know what happens? If somebody likes this Dachshund Through the Snow book, they'll say, "What else has Michelle written?" Mm-hmm. And guess what? pretty much all my other books have Jesus in them. So that's the plan. That's why we do these things. There is a method to this madness.
I'm proud of you. I
Oh,
am
thanks.
I am really really proud of you because we've got to put weight on the other side of the scales, and we just can't stand by and let the other team just run the football. We got to get out there and compete. And God doesn't really need our help, but yet He calls upon us. In the Great Commission, last night I took some flack. I called the disciples a bunch of idiots. Well, what I meant by that is they were defective and they weren't qualified for their calling. But think about it. Jesus left this earth, left the destiny of humanity in the hands of 11 pretty much unqualified, ordinary, everyday people.
Yeah.
And so it is up to us, ordinary. There's no plan B that if we don't do the Great Commission, the Lord is going to dispatch angels to do it for us. Doesn't say that anywhere that I've read. So you are a soldier on the front lines, fighting that battle, and I'm just proud of you. I'm glad.
Well, thank
I really
you.
am.
I appreciate that. We're all called, whatever our calling happens to be. God has a plan for each one of us, and sometimes we don't even know what that plan is. We just day by day we walk out whatever that day's plan is. Then you finally, at some point, will intersect with your destiny. You just continue to say yes to God and keep walking forward in the things He shows you for that day, and eventually you'll get to where He needs you to be. And I think if there's something I've learned throughout all of this last crazy year, is that everything that I've done in my career and all the ups and downs and ins and outs and places I've worked and clients I've had and projects I wish I hadn't said yes to but did, I think it all has prepared me honestly for such a time as this, for what God has got me doing right now in this season, and being able to, with Ren and Bear Books, acquire books from the acquisition stage, finding those books that I believe God wants published, and then from the very beginning, seeing them and like raising that little baby book all the way till it gets onto the shelves, and then helping the author promote it. Like that is the most exciting thing ever. I mean, not just doing my books, but doing other people's books. All these people that send me manuscripts to look at, and when I see them one-on-one at these conferences, and I'll think, man, somebody needs to do that book. Now I can say, hey, I can do this book. It's great. Now I only have a few slots each year. It's not like I'm going to have 25 slots open. I think I only have 4 the first year, and then it'll build because of COVID. We've had to keep it kind of conservative in the first year, but what a blessing. I'm so grateful that God's allowed this, and that Victoria, that she saw the vision. And I am overwhelmed by how cool this is. and that I get to do see, that's just proof right there that God is still a God of miracles, because I'm a little girl from a small town in southern Indiana, and I still get to do these kinds of things. So that's how awesome our God is.
Well, we haven't seen you in a while, so I wanted to get caught up. Did you have a word for us tonight, or is the Christmas hat just there for decoration? The Santa hat.
Yeah, see, look at my little dachshund here. See this right here? This
okay.
Little dachshund with the little. I had somebody make this for me. Oh, his little hat fell off, but he's so cute. My friend Stephanie made this for me. She's such a sweetheart. My word for you guys tonight is just, I love y'all. I've missed you. And I think the one thing I was just going to share, and it's just a little quick story, that I was away at Gatlinburg last week. I think that's where I was telling you. I had a quick little 4-day trip with Jeff and my best friends, Angie and Darren. Angie's been my friend since I was 5. So we've just grown up together. And Darren, and she married her high school sweetheart. I married my high school sweetheart, and we all double date a lot. We go on trips together. We did the 30-year anniversary trip together, and this was our second trip together. Just a 4-day quick jaunt to Gatlinburg. And on the second day of our trip, it was so clear, Coach. The air was so clear. It wasn't smoky like the Smoky Mountains. Like everybody was commenting everywhere we went how clear it was. So we're like, we need to take advantage of this and go actually look up in the top of the mountains, not just from where we were staying, which is about halfway up the mountain. So we hadn't dressed for this though. We were just out shopping and having something to eat, and then we decided, hey, let's go drive up the mountain. So we did. So we drove up the mountain. But at this particular mountain, you could only drive up so far, and then you had to walk up the rest of the way. And I mean, I'm in high heel boots because, like, anywhere I go, I always wear boots. Typically, they've got a heel on them because I'm only 5'3" in a good day. If I poof my hair up, about 5'4". So I always wear high heels. But I don't usually wear high heels if I'm going to hike a mountain. That would not be my foot choice. No. But on this particular day, that's what happened. We just sort of ended up there, and they all wanted to go to the top of the mountain, and I was like, you know, okay, I don't want to be left out. So we just did. They all had on the right kinds of shoes. I did not. That's okay. So we're hiking up there, and Coach, it is straight up part of the way. No,
Is
I
that
work out, so
Clingman's Dome?
oh, it was, yeah. So I'm like, that is where we were. So I'm like trying to breathe, like, I'm okay. I'm doing fine, except for my calves are on fire because we're walking straight up this hill in these heels. And at one point, Darren, who's my best friend's husband, he asked a guy that was coming down the mountain, and Darren's sucking air too, right? And he said to the guy, he goes, "Hey, is it worth it?" That's what he asked him, and the guy goes, "Definitely, it's worth it."
Yeah.
And I got kind of those Holy Ghost bumps, like I just felt his presence, and I thought, that's it's always worth it with God, right? It's like, no matter how hard the struggle is, it's worth it. And it was just that just resonated with me. And we got to the top, and it was a little over a half mile of walking straight up, and we got up there, and we walked up and got on the viewing
Right. I think
platform,
you can see 3 states from there.
well, you're actually on the border of 2 states. Like it said, here you're in North Carolina, here you're in Tennessee. Like that was crazy. I'm like, how's it? I mean, these are just things I didn't know. Like we took so many pictures. We visited with people. We stayed up there quite a while. Part of the reason is because I didn't want to have to walk back down in heels, but also just because it was so beautiful up there, and just, I mean, I don't know, you can't appreciate it until you've been up there. It was just amazing. I'm so glad I didn't miss out on that because of the wrong, footwear choice, or because it was inconvenient, or because of anything else, that we went ahead and went all the way up, all 4 of us. And and I just thought, that is just like our walk with God. There's going to be times we're not prepared. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't wearing the right shoes. And when it's not convenient, because it wasn't like it was convenient the way we did this. We just were like, okay, let's go up there. It's a clear day. It took us by surprise, but it was so worth it. And with God, it's always worth it. Even if you're not prepared, even if it's a difficult journey, it's always worth it. And we just have to trust him. So that was my just little quick vacation story to encourage you guys if you're on a difficult journey right now. Because I mean, I shared a little earlier, we're just going through some difficult things. It's always worth it with God, because he promises to never leave us or forsake us. And the view with God is always beautiful. Like he will be there with you in the hard times, but he'll be with you on the mountaintop too. And you just have to hang on and know that it's worth it.
Good word. Good story. Yeah, I have been to Clingman's Dome. I think
it's amazing.
Once. Yeah, and the air's a little thinner when you live in the humidity of Florida. That's, you're not accustomed to that thin air, and you get all headachy, but yeah. But it's nice and cool up there.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It's even during the summer months, it's very pleasant. So, well, Michelle, I appreciate you catching up. I know it took a little longer than we normally take, but I wanted to not miss anything in your absence, and we've enjoyed some of the people who you bring in.
Yes.
And I'm trying to remember who it was week before last, but it's always a thrill.
I mean, I love to send you the people that have touched my lives, and some of the people I've worked with. And I know that Dead 13 times, it's an amazing testimony. So I was glad to send him your way.
I wondered how to pronounce his name, because when I see his name, I think Chevrolet, but it's Tribolette.
Yeah, Triplet. That's right.
Right,
yeah.
But I'm thinking Chevrolet, because it's kind of spelled that way.
Yeah, it's kind of like Del Didway. I'm like, it looks like to do it. Del to do it. Does it not look like that? Yeah.
I'm like, where did you come up with Didway at that spelling?
He's just churching it up. I think it really is to do it.
Only the French could mess something up that bad.
Seriously, right?
I Googled French military victories, and the only thing that came up was Napoleon. I mean, that's the most conquered nation on earth. It's the most.
Oh no! Yeah.
I guess it's because they're so. I've been to France, by the way. And by the way, I had been to many of the French Caribbean islands, so my impression of the French was not a good one, because they don't really like us. Yeah. They don't want our money. They don't want to talk English. They don't. They're really and dirty. Gosh, man, garbage everywhere. Not France.
I like French fries.
I
mean, I give him that, right?
when you, I can't eat French fries, so I appreciate you not bringing them
I
up.
can't either anymore, but I do like them. Yeah.
But when we went to France, it's almost like being in Disney World. You can't find a cigarette butt on the sidewalk. But you would like it because dogs accompany everybody, even into the restaurant.
I love that. Yeah.
You'll see a table and a dog sitting there. And they've got these municipal workers. You know, when the dog has to poopy, they've got municipal workers. Man, as soon as that dog, man, here comes the guys. You know,
Wow.
they're very clean and they're very
send them to my
hospitable.
house. Yeah, that'd be great. Clean up. Yeah,
I
in the yard. It's no fun.
You know, we redid our backyard and we've got an area where it's rocks, and we've trained the dog to go to the rocks.
There you go.
But he's a German Shepherd, so he's smart. Okay, unlike.
Are you saying dachshunds aren't smart?
Did I imply or did you infer?
Neither. I'm just leaving it at that.
We'll leave it there. They have other virtues, I'm sure.
They do.
Yeah, okay. Well, Michelle, it's been great catching up with you. Next week is your birthday, so
It is.
if you have other things to do, we'll understand. But if you don't, or if you do them during the day, we'd love to have you here on your birthday. And we look forward to whichever the case is. We'll pre-record it if we need to. Whatever works best for you, Michelle.
Well, thank you.
We love you and thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Of course.
All right. There you go. Michelle Medlock Adams right here on pjnet.tv. Gosh, we went a little long because we had so much to catch up on. Plus, we had some connection problems, so I didn't want to penalize. Wanted to preserve the time. You know how they do in Congress. Can you say whatever the words is that they use? They only have so much time, and they don't want to lose it due to interruptions. All right. With this, tomorrow night we will be back with Kathleen Barrett, first time appearance, as well as J.D. Winninger. That all starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. My wife, late Veterans Day, by the way. More of trivia. Veterans Day is celebrated on the same day. It's always November 11th. It's not the first Monday or the third Monday. None of that. And the way you can remember it is the armistice that ended World War I took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Can you remember it now? And by the way, you may have heard of the Pershing tank. General Pershing, a hot rod Marine commander, decided to fight that war up until the 11th hour and attack cities that he could have walked into and conquered. Happened that way. But they named a tank after him, Pershing. Okay. All right. Well, folks, listen, we've got some work to do, like I said, to put the finishing touches on that promotional page for the January 15th event. And hopefully by this time next week, we will be able to share that with you. And we hope that you will share it with others because we have got a lot of work to do between now and then. And we want to get the word out to as many as possible. Until then, I will ask you to ask yourself 2 questions. What's the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And how long ago was that? I certainly hope that none of us will be satisfied with either answer.